Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, we're gonna take a look at Sadness from Inside Out. Don't let her fool you, her ability is actually not that sad. But the ability description here is magic bubbles appear at random. And let's take a look at her stats first. If you do want to activate Sadness's ability, you will need to clear a total of 16 copies of her off the screen. Her minimum score is 130 with a maximum score of 865. So her minimum score is really good. So if you have Sadness at a low level, then the scores are going to be pretty good for its level. As you level up Sadness, the maximum score is pretty low. It's only 865. I would say if you get anywhere between 1000 to 1100, then it's pretty good. But in this case, Sadness is not that great for the higher levels. However, if you do want to level up Sadness to skill level 6, you only need 29 copies of her, so that's a pretty good deal. Her ability is pretty unique in a way that there are magic bubbles that show up, and as you level up her skill level, there are going to be more and more bubbles that will show up on the screen. So if you have her at skill level 1 and 2, then 3 magic bubbles will show up. If you have her at skill level 3 and 4, 4 bubbles will show up. And for skill level 5 and 6, 5 bubbles will show up. Now, which bubbles will show up will be different. You definitely want to get the one that's mixed. So the bubble that has blue and yellow is a super effective clear versus the blue one is not that great. So the joint powers is the better one. One good thing about Sadness is that regardless of what skill level you have her at or what the screen looks like, you're always going to be guaranteed the same bubble effect. So it doesn't matter how it's set up. So it's very simple to use. But one thing that I do want to show you guys is a side-by-side comparison of all 3 of the skill levels, because there are different strategies that you could implement when you are playing Sadness. So one of the strategies that I would recommend you to use is spam the ability, because when you do spam the ability, you can activate more skills that way versus if you wait every single time, because there are going to be extra charges that goes into the second ability. And the second strategy that I would recommend is make sure that you are popping the bubbles from top to bottom, with the exception if the bubble or the magic bubble is at the very top, which leads me to my third strategy. You want to make sure that all the magic bubbles have Tsum surrounding them before you pop them, because that way you'll maximize the chains. You want to avoid the magic bubble from touching the very bottom, and that's because you're missing out on clear potential. So the way the bubbles work is it's going to pop surrounding bubbles, meaning anything that the bubble is touching, it's going to clear. So if your bubble is at the very top or at the very bottom, the magic bubble is not going to be surrounded by Tsums, because if it's at the very bottom, that means on the bottom area there's going to be no Tsums touching it. And if you have it at the very top, then that means that there are no Tsums the magic bubble is touching at the top area, therefore you have less chains that way. And if you have less chains, that means that you're going to get less clears, and less clears means less coins. So if you are using Sadness for the coin earning potential, then you definitely want to make sure that the bubbles are surrounded with Tsums before you pop the bubble. But Sadness really isn't necessarily that great for coins. I think that you will be using Sadness for the bubble popping purposes. We'll have to see if these magic bubbles will count as big Tsums later on in the game. When there's a mission that calls for big Tsums, I'm going to give it a try, because these magic bubbles are pretty big, so it might count as a big bubble, but I'm going to have to test it out to see. I'm not for sure right now. And another thing that you guys want to keep in mind is that the blue and yellow bubble is the bigger ones, or it pops more Tsums. So you want to prioritize making sure that those bubbles are surrounded by Tsums. And one way you could be doing that is you want to pop those first if you see them surrounded with Tsums. Now, what I also want to show you guys is a side-by-side comparison of the ability activated at the same time. So the animation is super cool. You see Sadness here and Joy touching the same magic bubble here, and then you see that some of Joy's abilities will transfer into this magic capsule bubble here. And once you do activate the bubble, you'll see that you're guaranteed to have 2 regular bubbles or 2 blue bubbles and a mixed bubble for skill level 1. For skill level 2, that's when it changes to 2 yellow and blue bubbles and 1 blue bubble. And for skill level 3, you get 2 of each. Now, if you're still not sure what the difference between the blue bubbles and the blue and yellow bubbles, I'm going to slow it down here and explain it to you. So keep your eye on the skill level 3 demonstration, where I have 2 blue and yellow bubbles and 2 blue bubbles. So the first thing I'm going to pop is that first blue and yellow bubble, and I got a chain of 12, then a 2, and then I'm going to pop the blue, which I got a 7 and a 13. So let me show you on a different demonstration so that way you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to pause it and show you what the two differences are. So I'm going to let the animation roll through right here, and you'll notice that I'm going to pause right on this blue one. So look at this blue bubble here, and you'll see that the Tsums that are going to be cleared touching that bubble, there's going to be 7. And the reason why there's 7 is that big blue bubble counts as 1 as well. So it's touching 6 and it counts itself as a bubble as well, so there's 7. And if you look at the top right here, it's a little bit difficult to see because part of the Tsums is off the screen, but there's a total of 12 Tsums that it's popping. And take a closer look, it's not only the ones that it's touching, but also the second row behind that, so it's doubling what it's initially going to pop. So that's the reason why the blue and yellow bubbles are a little bit more powerful, because they pop 2 radiuses away versus only what it's touching, so it is a little bit better. Now what I also want to show you guys is what I earned for all of these game demonstrations. So I'm going to fast forward the gameplays here to the very end, so that way I can show you what my coin earnings are as well as the scores that I got. For skill level 1, I got a total of 966 coins. For skill level 2, I got 1,296 coins. And finally, for skill level 3, I got 1,636 coins. So for coins, it's not that great. I wouldn't necessarily say you should use sadness to earn coins. It might be good for bubble missions and possibly even big bubble missions. I'm gonna have to try when I get one of those missions. And if you take a look at the score is not amazing either. I barely got into the 2 millions, and then for skill level 2, almost 3 million. Skill level 3, closer to 4 million. So not that great for score either. So I do like Sadness's ability. When Sadness does get to a higher skill level, her performance is better, but you just got to keep in mind of how to play the strategy. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that you guys found it useful in learning a little bit more about Sadness. And if you did, give this video a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more Tsum Tsum content just like this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.